Okay, hello and welcome to how the magic of tarot can help you have harmonious relationships free of conflict or confrontation. And I'm not talking about going to have a reading. No, no, no. I'm going to show you some really fabulous ways of working with it tonight, which will indeed put you in the right frame of mind for healing your relationships. So, who is this for, you may ask? Well, anyone really. I mean, who isn't in a relationship? No man is an island, but particularly if you're a spouse, a parent, a manager, a coach, a tarot practitioner, or an astrologer, you'll get even more out of it. But if you're just a human being, you're going to get something out of today. So you're in the right place, I'm sure. And by the end of the webinar, you will know how to understand yourself and others, so you know how to respond rather than react. Easily identify yours and others' strengths and weaknesses, so you know how to discern better. And understand the court cards in the tarot. Wow. Court cards, every reader's worst nightmare. So that's why I said wow. And how they can help you to heal your relationships. As I said, it's not through having readings. And also identify the link between astrology, tarot, and disc, which is a kind of personality profiling to strengthen all of the above. We're also going to be looking at the 4 focuses of forgiveness and the 4 agreements. And I've decided also I'm going to be giving a place away on my upcoming retreat. Woo. So you have to stay tuned for that one, because we'll be doing that at the very end of the Q&A this evening. Okay, so basically everything you need to know, yes, in order to have stress-free, harmonious relationships of ease and free up your energy so you can make progress with your life rather than feel emotionally and financially stuck, or worse, drained. I think we probably all know what that feels like. You know, when relationships aren't going well, how it's so hard to make progress in any area of your life, and it impacts it all. And so it's really important to get this part right. House rules tonight is that there's a lot to get through, and I'm going to whiz through. So you're going to need to play. Play? Well, yes, you're going to need to play. My webinars are very interactive and playful. So actually, whilst I'm on it, get a notepad and pen. You will need that because it is interactive, and you'll want to pay close attention. So you want to close down all other distractions right now, off Facebook, off mobile, off. Just give yourself time to actually ground and have a physical pen and paper in your hand. I can give you the keys that you need to increase your understanding of yourself and others and how to have harmonious relationships, but it's not some quick fix. You will notice some instant results, but here on the webinar, you'll also see long-term results from people who have applied my teachings as part of their daily practice. So I just wanted to get that clear there. And also to get a chance to have my ongoing support with that, you'll also want to stay to the end, because you'll have the chance to get a free call with me then too. My goodness, right, wow. So let's get on with it. We're going to dive straight in. Okay, so as I said, it's going to be fast, and you're going to love it. It's going to be really packed with value. So let's check if this sounds like you, you want to live a life where you feel free and supported to make progress, but you find yourself beset with relationship difficulties, maybe even to the point that all your energy, emotionally or financially, gets used up. We've just spoken about that, leaving nothing for you to make headway with. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt and the extra bullet points by the looks of it. Sorry about that, guys. Next one, you want to trust others, but find that sooner or later you feel let down by almost everyone, and this stops you from letting others in, which leaves you feeling isolated. And then your fear of failure, visibility, vulnerability, plus a desire to people please means you keep putting your life off, and this gets worse the more that you do so. And you'd love to live life on your terms, but you don't even know how. Or maybe you are an extra bullet point. Someone with an interest in tarot, astrology, or disc, and you'd like to know more. Someone who has a vested professional interest in understanding others, including but not limited to a coach, a counsellor, psychologist, lawyer, or in HR, for example. Or a human being whose ability to relate affects everything in life, the success of their family, friendships, and career. As John Donne said, no man is an island. Right, I think that covers just about everyone on the planet then. So shall we move on? Because you know what? If you answered yes, yes, I am a human, and no man is an island, then you're in the right place. Congratulations on being a human being. Let's move on and look at the real problem. The real problem is down to 1, not being clear with communication, 2, taking things personally, 3, making judgments and assumptions, 4, not understanding the differences between yourself and another and how to bridge them. And this is because you don't have a consistent structure to help you make progress with it. So we're going to be looking at being clear with your communication, understanding that whatever anyone else does is about them, releasing judgments and assumptions and staying open, and understanding yourself and others and how to bridge the differences. And I know this is like number 2, for instance, anything that anyone does is about them sounds like a cop-out, but actually it's amazing when you start doing this work properly how you see it. It's very powerful indeed. Okay, so when you have that understanding, you'll understand yourself and others at an almost telepathic level, and this in turn means you'll know how to respond to any given situation without confrontation or conflict, and usually without the need for a conversation, although we have to be careful there because it's important not to make assumptions. Yeah, so we do need to make the effort to, even if we are pretty sure we understand someone, we do need to check it out with them. Okay, so you might find that I'm not saying don't be clear with your communication. So if you do need to have a proper deep conversation rather than, when this happened, this is the story I told myself, and somebody going, yeah, that's it, or no, that's not it. But if you need to have a really deep conversation, you'll know how to have it so it ends in harmony rather than dramedy. And you'll start to see the benefits of this in your life in all areas. Okay, so who am I? Just going to let you know very quickly, in case you're like, who is this woman on this webinar? My name is Tiffany. I've been working with the tarot since I was a child. I was self-taught, so I learned a lot the hard way, and it was a long time ago that I was a child. I'm 41 now. Some of you might be there going, oh, she's still a baby. Mainly what I learned was the harm that it can do when you work with it as a predictive tool, okay? And I learned that really early on at 14, and yeah, we're not going to go into my whole story because it's going to be amazingly long, and a lot of you probably know it already. If not, you can Google it and find it out. It's all over the media. But generally speaking, just to keep the points clear on what we're doing today and how I can help you with what we're doing today. I was a top reader on the London circuit in my 30s, and I wrote The Transformational Truth of Tarot, which won an award for Best Spiritual Book of 2012, which got me on TV doing regular readings and winning 4 further awards in the space of 2 years. But the issue was, despite all this, people were still seeing it as a predictive tool. I felt like I was just losing, I was fighting a losing battle and being pigeonholed in a way that was like everything against what I stood for. So I left the circuit in 2014 to launch the course version of the Transformational Truth of Tarot and started showing people that there's a better way. Last year, I also launched the Transformational Truth of Tarot Game Changer, which is a board game version of the course, taking you through the same philosophy. So it helps you to understand yourself and your relationships so they shift long term. Now, when I put long term here, I'm talking about the course. The Transformational Truth of Tarot course helps you do it long term. Yes, but everything else can really help as well in the short term. So you know it's true. Let me give you a few case studies. So this one's from Angela Furnival, who now has ignited her passion helping women going through change. And you can find her on Facebook, Women Embracing Change. And when Angela came to me, she was working in a job and she had this personal situation going on. Yeah, she wanted to find a way to get the balance back in her relationship with her eldest daughter, because her eldest daughter had been angry with her for a long time, and that was obviously affecting her ability to be happy because she loves her daughter. And she thought what she needed to do was to set boundaries in the self-preservation sort of way. But quite early on into the Transformational Truth of Tarot, she realised that, in fact, her approach to her relationship with her daughter was quite judgmental. And through that understanding, she put herself in her daughter's shoes and somehow just got it. So she gained the clarity and saw that her daughter just needed her to recognise what her story was. And she says here, this sounds bizarre as I write this. I think I should have known what her story was, but stepping inside that with no judgment on either side. Yes, either side. So not coming from the victim or the guilt place. Either side was massive. And she was away when she wrote this testimonial with her daughter and her family. And she said to me, I feel like I've got my mum finally, like I've never had her before. And that sentence was a massive breakthrough. So Angela, that was written while she was still on the course, and since then has gone on to activate her journey. She left a job and she's started Women Embracing Change. So that's one success story right there. Another one here is from Claire. And Claire said that she had completely lost who she was. She had no control over her life, but worse still, that had even become normal. I bet we can relate to that. And she plucked up the courage to do something for herself for the first time in years as well, and signed up to the Transformational Truth of Tarot. And by the end of it, her whole life had changed. And this is just incredible what happened for Claire. We'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. So her stress and worry levels virtually disappeared. Her relationships with the people closest enhanced. And every day she felt happier, calmer, and more at peace. During this time, the Transformational Truth of Tarot woke her up to realising she had to put an end to her unhappy marriage of 16 years, and that happened for her quite quickly as well. She sold the former marital home, bought her own home, and started another amazing cycle with a new and loving relationship. And the best part, he loves her for who she truly is, and her boy loves him too. That's amazing. She also ran a marathon and started drawing for the first time in her life because her teacher told her that she was terrible at at art, so she never picked up a pencil. But the transformational truth of tarot does unlock writing and art in you as well. It's very powerful. It unlocks so much. And she said, yep, my journey was so amazing. I just finished writing a book about it. And not only that, but Claire now also is a professional reader. So you can also find her on Facebook as Tarot Readings with Claire Chilvers. Okay, so there we go. Another big story. And here is Tim. Tim was a lawyer. And gosh, he really found himself in an environment where he realised he was so different to everybody else. And out of respect, I'm not going to go into the ins and outs out of respect for Tim, but he came on the course because he loved tarot and also because he needed to find the strength to be himself in the face of a lot of opposition. And he really managed that. He really, his relationships didn't end, his career didn't end. His intention was to just be comfortable with who he is and not feel bad for what his interests were or evil or like he had to be stuck in the closet or anything along those lines. And that was exactly what he achieved. And in that, there has also been an enlightenment for other people because they have been looking at him and going, well, actually, you know what? He's just getting better, not worse. So it's been very empowering for everyone. Okay, so in the 34 years I've been doing this work, I've done more than 10,000 readings, which is why I know that using it as a predictive thing is only leading to obsession, addiction, and compulsion. Personally, I've gone through that and I've seen what it's done to everyone else thousands of times over. As I say, I've learned from the intensive hardcore frontline experience, and I've helped a lot of people wake up to who they are and subsequently change their relationships and their lives by doing it through the transformational truth of tarot. I've helped a lot of people to successfully face the truth of their relationships and find the courage to change them, as well as find their purpose and live it. So some people go on to be professional readers, some people go on to live their purpose, whatever that is for them. Sometimes the shifts are just internal. I say just internal, but in some ways that's even bigger. And sometimes they are external as well, but they are long term. Yes. So how do you get this new understanding? Well, it does take time, and we are limited with that here today, but I can take you through one section today, which is the court cards. And the court cards are a part of tarot that's similar to the playing cards of the King, Queen, Jack, of which they are 4 suits in the playing cards. And the only difference is that instead of the Jack in tarot, you have a Knight and a Page. So when you put it like that, you might be thinking how crazy it would be to look into your cards for your relationships. It would be like gambling with them, right? But look deeper and you'll see that what they really have in common is, 1, archetypal models that help you understand patterns of behaviour. Queen does this, King does that. Are you with me? And number 2, the probable odds and outcomes from certain actions taken. Okay, so as Carl Jung says, combine the cards in certain ways and the different combinations correspond to the playful development of mankind. This too is how tarot works, with the added dimension of symbols or pictures or symbolical situations. It is said that the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung discovered the internal tarot of the human mind with his notion of archetypes. So, with that in mind, let's dive into the court cards today and you'll start to see what I mean. So I just spoke to you about the 4 suits. Spades equals swords equals air equals spirit, thought, communication. Hearts equals cups equals water equals feeling, emotion, intuition. Diamonds equals wands equals fire equals inspiration, creativity and action. Clubs equals pentacles equals earth equals manifestation, that should say, which gives us everything we need to create successfully and become the magician in our lives. Now, I went through that massively fast. Remember, I said I was going to whiz through this, and to have a pen and a notebook with you, you will jotting this down will help it to sink in. Okay, so also, if you do tarot, you might think that actually I've got the wands and the pentacles the wrong way round, and I go with what it feels like to me. Diamonds, wands, fire, they're red, whereas clubs, pentacles, earth, it's black, and it's more like this. So that's why I have put it that way. So just humour me. You can always go back to the way you know if it works for you afterwards. Okay, so now I'm going to take you through a journey of the 16 court cards. With each one, I want you to be thinking of the people you know and making notes. Are you ready? Let's go. The Sword family. Okay, so we're going to start with the Page of Swords here, bottom right. Now, the pages are the youngest formation, so they speak of children. And so the Page of Swords, the swords is communication, is air, is thought. So if you can imagine a child that's been born with the gift of a very active mind, but of course is a child, so doesn't really know how to handle it, a bit like that sword he's got there. He really doesn't know. The weight of that sword probably weighs more than he does. It looks like it's tipping him off balance, yes? So this may manifest as a child that's incredibly curious, intellectual, inquisitive, questioning. I know a lot of kids are like that, like why, but this one is doesn't grow out of that stage, shall we say. And they're really all over the place. There could be on the spectrum of some learning difficulty as well these days. That would be a label for someone like the Page of Swords as well. Okay, now as they grow into the Knight of Swords, they imagine like the Knight of Swords is at university. He or she is probably studying something like law or psychology, medicine, anything to do with the mind, anything that's intellectual. And you can see here he's probably out on a political rally rather than studying, because what's happened is he's tried to get a control of his mind. He's trying to understand the strength of his own mind. He's trying to harness it. And so when that's happening, there becomes a massive defense or a massive mask of like, I know it is right. And so that's what we have in the youthful Knight of Swords. As we go into the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Swords is known as the most unmaternal mother. I think you could see her as quite matriarchal, the headmistress, for instance, someone that installs values, integrity, fairness, but could be quite bitter and vengeful and judgmental. And so if she gets that judgment call wrong, she doesn't often, but if she does, then my goodness. So there's that issue there as well. So Margaret Thatcher, typical Queen of Swords, and had a quote saying that after politics she would do a business called Rent a Spine, and you can kind of see that there with the sword. So you have that type of energy there with the Queen of Swords. Interestingly enough, my mother is a Gemini with Gemini rising, which is an air sign, so is a sword. And although she was a single mother, which the Queen of Swords has had hardship, widow, divorce, all of those types of things, she absolutely adored Margaret Thatcher, funnily enough, even though she was a single mother in the 70s and 80s. So there we go. Interesting how this stuff works. Now, the King of Swords is if we go back to the Page of Swords where it said this is where, the child really has to learn how to cope with their gift, so it feels more like a curse than a blessing. When we've got to the King of Swords, he's learned how to have it as a blessing. So if you see the Queen of Swords is quite rigid and upright, whereas the King of Swords sword is off to the side, showing that he has adaptability, unlike the Knight of Swords, which is more like charging forward with it. He doesn't need to be so defensive because he has his own, he's come to peace with it. It's like he is a master of his mind rather than the mind is a master of him. So he's the type of person to ask questions, to sit quietly, to listen, that understands that if you talk you learn nothing, but if you listen you learn a lot more than if you didn't. Hence this webinar. So lawyer again, or some quite professional, thoughtful meditation master, even martial art master even, or doctor, scientist, that type of energy there. Okay, are you recognizing anyone? And do they fit with this? The 3 signs are Gemini, Libra and Aquarius. The 3 positives are inquisitive, intelligent, quick-witted. 3 negatives, sharp-tongued, aloof, unemotional. 3 occupations, lawyer, teacher, psychologist. And 3 celebs, Donald Trump, Simon Cowell, Russell Brand. So, of course, we are not limited to these. And it's, if any of these doesn't fit with who you thought, just let go of that and see that person. If you saw that person as that, as this here, don't let this put you off here, because this is just a very short synopsis. So just go with your gut. It'll help you understand them. Let's move on to the Cup family. So the Page of Cups. Cups are about emotions. So we have an overly emotionally child. Very intuitive. He's got his imaginative friend here. And very effeminate if it's a boy. And probably hides a lot behind mummy's skirt. So we've got that type of child. And as he grows up, or she goes up, we've got the falling in love with everyone, wearing the heart on the sleeve, the Casanova that actually means it. But it's just feelings are always flowing. They're always changing. So he's got the best intentions, but, just falls in love with everyone he meets or she meets. We've got the artist, the poet, the musician, the dreamer, okay? And then here, as a mother, we've got the most maternal mother here as well. So very caring, very, the love is so supportive. She's really there for her children, but it can be conditional sometimes. So for instance, like I said before, my mum is a Queen of Swords, right? And my mother-in-law is a Queen of Cups. Okay, so when I grew up, my mum gave me a heck of a lot of independence. She cut that tie. Yeah, and no judgment, actually. She's always been really behind me, whatever my choice has been. And so that gave me a heck of a lot of freedom. Hence, I've been in quite a strange career. And then when I came into my husband's family, who has also got the King of Cups as a father, it was like, whoa, what is this? You ring each other, you speak to each other, you're there, for each other. But of course, that also has conditions. And wow, I just didn't feel like I could be who I was. And it was really, really, really smothering on that side as well. So you have that kind of energy with it too. Now, the King of Cups is when the Page of Cups has mastered his emotions, yes? So you have there, look, his toe is not actually in the water. He can put it in or out, and the water represents the emotions. So he's got a hold. He's master of his emotions. He can dip in when he wants, and they don't overtake him, which is also what we're doing here on this webinar, isn't it? We want to get to this place here. And so we can be open, we can be loving, and it doesn't go into some big drama. So we also have nurses, social workers, and everything in that kind of heart-centered career choice. With the Cup family, do you recognise anyone? Put it in the chat box if you do. So the 3 signs are Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces. 3 positives, caring, intuitive, mystical. 3 negatives, oversensitive, manipulative and complex. 3 occupations, nurse, counsellor, musician. 3 celebs, Princess Diana, Hillary Clinton and Kurt Cobain. The Wands family. Woohoo! Okay, so this is where someone has the gift of creation, yeah, and they just have to create. They have to be in action all the time. It's a bit like the swords in a way. Quite similar, the swords are to the wands, as are the cups to the pentacles. So the Page of Wands is really active, doesn't really know how to harness or channel that action. Real tomboy if it's a girl, that type of energy, very loud, very noisy, very boisterous. The Knight of Wands is probably off on a gap year and is having fun with his big stick. Yeah, let's move on. Maybe he's even nicked Dad's car and is boomboxing around the local village with the women or the girls chewing the gum in the back. Yeah, you kind of get the message. Might even be a young budding football star or celeb in some way. And the Queen of Wands is very much a confident woman who is incredibly busy and in the spotlight doing everything. She's a bit like Superwoman. And they're very, because we're dealing with light here, they're very visual people, so clairvoyant or artists or designers, anything along those lines. And then we have the King of Wands. Okay, so the King of Wands is like a big boy with that big stick. Very charismatic, gift of the gab, salesman. He's really directed his creations so that they've made him successful. Okay, so let's have a look. Do you recognise anyone? They can be a bit bossy and domineering, but lots of fun. I'm not a Queen of Wands. I also have a black cat called Mystic, in case you didn't know, and I'm a Leo, by the way. Anyway, moving on. So 3 signs are Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. 3 positives are charismatic, confident and creative. 3 negatives are aggressive, arrogant and undiplomatic. 3 occupations, sales, sports and TV. 3 celebs, Hulk Hogan, Madonna and Tina Turner. I think Tina Turner is probably the more enlightened one. It must have been all that Buddhism. So, are you recognising anyone? Put it in the chat box. Now, the Pentacles family. We are moving on. This is the last lot. Okay. So, the Page of Pentacles is the most grown up of the most mature of the pages. So, he's that type of child that actually doesn't gel that well with children and actually prefers adult company, probably knows what he wanted to do from the beginning of his life and has probably been saving for a pension since he was 8 and started his own business at 6 and all of that kind of shidazzle. And then we have him growing up in the Knight of Pentacles, and you can see here on his horse it's the only one that's not rushing forward. He is steadfast. He's in university, he or she, studying, whilst Knight of Wands is out on a gap year, Knight of Cups is out romancing, and the Knight of Swords is out rallying. So, can you see that you might also be a mix, like I'm a mix of the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Wands and the Page of Cups when I was a child. And I've kind of, now I feel more like a Queen of Wands and a Queen of Swords. So, you get things, different parts of you can come forward. So you might find that you're resonating with seeing different parts of you at different times in your life as well. So then we've got the Queen and King of Pentacles. The way I like to see the Queen and King of Pentacles is that they met in London in an accountancy firm, fell in love, decided to move to the country. He opened his own accountancy firm. She did the bookkeeping behind the scenes, and from there they had children. She was a stay-at-home mum. She grows all the veg. Do you know anyone like that? And, King of Pentacles, Taurus, they love their red wine. Look at, he's dripping with grapes here. Good food, good wine, good company. All the Taurian men I know have been like that. So, yeah, are you recognizing anyone? Put it in the chat box. The Pentacles family, 3 signs, Taurus, Virgo and Capricorn. Now, the thing about the astrology, why I said don't let it confine you, is because, they could have this as an ascendant or a moon sign that you're not aware of, and those two also make up your personality. So your sun sign is only 1/3 of it. 3 positives are dutiful, dependable and hardworking, and 3 negatives are pompous, perfectionist and critical. 3 occupations, banker with a B, business owner and accountant. Sorry if there was any bankers on here, that was not called for, I know. 3 celebs, Mark Zuckerberg, Mother Teresa and Kate Moss. Okay, so now let's move on to how this works with DISC. I don't know if any of you have heard of DISC. It's a personality profiling used often in the corporate world to help teams get on. So they use D, I, S and C as their 4 categories to help people understand each other, which we've just done through the court cards. Okay, so I thought I would actually assign the suits of the court cards so you can see. So the wands are dominant, they're fire, they're red, yes, they're direct, decisive, they do because they're about action, but they can be domineering and demanding. Eyes, influentials, are swords, they're inspirational, interactive and interesting, but they're impulsive and irritating as well. Okay, now these 2 here blend a little bit more. As I said, cups and pentacles are similar, wands and swords are similar, but these 2 really do blend. So as you can see here, they've got green, which is more of an earthy colour for the Page of Pentacles, and they've put blue for sea, which is the cups, yes. But I've put it this way around because I do think that, I really had to split hairs here, but compliant, cautious, careful, conscientious, calculating and condescending is, I think the Pentacles have the edge on that. And steady, stable, supportive and sincere and slow and sensitive is the sensitive thing. I think the Cups has on that, but they are incredibly similar. So how is this knowledge actually going to help you? Well, these are the outgoing ones. Yes, here, the top, the bottom are the reserved ones. The ones on the right are people orientated and the ones on the left are task orientated. So keep that in mind as well. And this, I thought I'd break it down so you can see. All right, so hopefully you've managed to work out who you predominantly are. You will be a mix, so listen to all of the ones that speak to you. But predominantly, hopefully you can work it out. Like I said, I'm predominantly here, Willful Wand and Sharp Sword, which is outgoing. Interestingly enough, on the Myers-Briggs, I am 51% introvert and 49% extrovert. So, it's you will see other bits in you as well. And just tune in to the messages, and if they hit home with you, then you know to take it on. Okay, so Willful Wand, for me, for instance, this is the one that I probably resonate with the most. No one is as fast and results driven as you, which is why it makes it good, for me to do things like courses, because I'll get you there and quick, yeah? But I also have to learn to cut myself and others some slack and slow myself down and learn to listen and cultivate patience, which I have done. So in another personality profiling system, I'm actually an adapter, which means you've managed to take in a bit of all of this and adapt, yeah, which is great. This is what it's all about, how to adapt. So far from falling apart, it will fall together. It's the antidote of anger, your own and others being directed at you. And I've really learned that I actually, even though I'm talking 9 to the dozen now, because I have to, because I'm on a webinar, I really do love to listen to other people. I think it's amazing. It makes them feel really loved, and I also learn so much if I shut up. So let's move on to the sharp sword. No one else is as quick-minded as you. Learn to listen without judgment. There you go. For instance, I said that this is my second one. Work on being present and mindful. It's the antidote for feeling frazzled and all over the place, and people being frazzled and all over the place with you. Is it resonating for any of you? Put it in the chat box if it is. Are you a conditional cup? Find the way to express your emotions without being over emotional. And remember, there's only one person who can meet your needs, and that is you. It's the antidote of feeling unloved by yourself and others. And then we have the perfect pentacle. No one is as thorough as you. Yeah, so you've got to learn to forgive yourself and others for not being perfect, so you can relax those high standards. And that's the antidote to not feeling isolated and cut off from yourself and by others. Okay, moving on. Whew. Hopefully you've managed to identify yourself and others, and you can start to see, let's rewind a little bit, the problems, yeah? Like the perfect pentacle will want to be treated in a slower way where things are done properly, and so they can get really annoyed by the willful wand and the sharp sword, and the willful wand and the sharp sword need to learn to slow down, whereas the perfect pentacle needs to learn to let go a little bit of perfection. The conditional cup could be really wound up again by the sharp sword or the willful wand, because it feels like they don't care about people or emotions, for instance. So, oh my goodness, is everybody irritated by that? Well, the willful wand would be like, oh my goodness, can you just get on with it? So we'd be irritated by the conditional cup. Same with the perfect pentacle, for instance, or the sharp sword wouldn't get why these were being too slow either. So that's why it's important to listen and learn how to adapt and cross the bridges in between. So I'm going to let you know a few ways that will help you do that. We've obviously looked at the things that are unique to our element and what we need to work on, and this will also help you. So number 3 is the 4 agreements, and then we've got one thing left, I think, which is the 4 focuses of forgiveness. So first, oh my goodness, I've just seen what this looks like. Good job I know them off by heart. The reason I know them off by heart is because we practice this in the Transformational Truth of Tarot. It's amazing. Whenever there is any disagreements, which is very unusual, all we need to do is go back and check this, and it totally neutralizes it. Okay, so the first one, be impeccable with your word, which means to speak with integrity, say only what you mean, avoid using the word to speak against yourself or gossip about others, and use it only in the direction of truth and love. The word is powerful, thought, word and deed. It is our most powerfully creative tool that we have. Now, don't take anything for personally is number 2. Nothing anyone does is because of you. It's a projection of their experience, their story, their life. And when you are immune to the opinions of others, you will no longer be a victim of needless suffering. This is so amazingly true. Number 3, don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and express what you really want. Communicate with clarity, yes? And by doing that, you can avoid misunderstandings, judgment, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. And number 4 is always do your best. And your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different from when you are healthy to when you are sick. And under any circumstance, simply do your best and you will be free of all judgment, self-abuse, and regret. So I would basically, I'll get something in the replay for you. I'll put these out in the replay so that it's clear, okay? And you have it clearly. That's what I'll do. All right, now, when I say the replay, I mean the replay email. There you go. 4. The 4 focuses to forgiveness. So focus on what you want the outcome to be. Now, this means, when we have a disagreement with someone, our ego gets in the way and we just want to be right and convince the other person that we are right. And really, that's a small-minded, egoic way of thinking. So when I say focus on what you want the outcome to be, really what you want is for both of you to understand each other and to feel healed. Yeah, so that's the outcome. Focus on that intention. And this is powerful because when we're in disagreements, we can be totally distracted by a bombardment of different issues. Whereas if we just focus on what our intention is in the long run, what it is we want for that relationship, how we want to feel, how we want the other person to feel in it, and focus only on that and keep bringing the person back to that, it's amazing how you can turn a situation that you think is hopeless into something that is just more harmonious than ever. Okay, so that's focus on what you want the outcome to be. Focus on what you want the other person to feel in the relationship, as well as yourself. And focus on asking rather than telling. There's nothing that gets my goat more than judgments being thrown my way without people actually asking. And I'm sure you're the same. And so, obviously, treat others like you would like to be treated yourself. Questioning is an amazing, amazing tool. Okay, so question rather than tell, and focus on listening rather than talking. Okay, obviously you want to be saying what you need to say, but interrupting or talking in a way that's not in alignment with the 4 agreements is a big no-no. Yes, and so the focus should be on the listening. And finally, you can learn from me or someone else, to get the support that you need. All right, so we're going to look at that now. I want you to trust me when I say that if you are willing, then there is a quicker, far easier, much more fun and magical way to do this than, are you ready? Big drum roll. Number 1 choice is going it alone. So going it alone is the long, hard, arduous road of the same old, ending in destination, isolation, and resignation. It's short-term fixes that never last. And this is because, for the simple reason that you can't see what to do, you'll easily forget what to do, you have no one to keep you on track, and so, you're just lost and all at sea. Also, number 2, getting therapy. So therapy is past focused, it takes time, is therefore more expensive, and this is the same with readings as well. Yeah, I'm going to lump readings with this as well. And it endangers you of being entrenched in your story, has hidden dangers of your therapist's or reader's projections, and exhausts your energy and finances. Did you know that 70% of marriages in therapy end in divorce? So I've been there, done that, in and out throughout my life. I know what I'm talking about with both of those when I say readings or therapy. Okay. Number 3, even though if it's not popular, it might not be popular, but it's true, I'm afraid. So number 3, the transformational truth of tarot is focused on understanding yourself and others through archetypal tarot. No therapist projections. So what I'm saying here is, although you have live support, it is actually the tarot that does the work and helps you understand. So I'm not in the way of that. It's a pure connection with you and the archetypal energy that does it. And it makes you face the truth, which your story isn't. And you'll see that also when you start to practice the 4 agreements, particularly number 2, number 3, not taking things personally and not making assumptions. It also energizes you through its divine rhythms. So even in the rough times, it keeps you going magically. And it activates your finances by helping your relationships and activating your purpose. So if you wanted to be a professional reader at the end of it, you can, but you might find that another purpose has been activated for you. There is business, knowledge and skills that I pass on in it as well, and training in it too. It's not one of those courses where you just learn the skills but you don't learn the business. In one of the lessons, you're actually, that week you have to go out and charge, and from then on we support you there. So we make you do it whilst you're on the course so that it really happens. Okay, so let's see what we're talking about here. As Nicola says, she was lacking the ability to be truly open with others and to show her vulnerability. And she couldn't show herself to the world as her low confidence made her think she wouldn't be enough. And she was playing whatever role was needed for each person and relationship she had. And she had already started to work on her disconnection before she met me. But she was lacking the knowledge on the best way to continue because she'd been living a lie for so long. It appeared to be mammoth. And her low self-worth and confidence were stopping her from choosing life. Decisions were made from fear, and she had no excitement or passion. The act of accepting and paying for the course was enough to show her that somewhere in there she still had some love and belief in herself. It was huge for her to spend that amount of money on herself, and once that realization came in, it helped me to know I'd made the right decision. I didn't need to find my self-love, I just needed to work on it, which somehow made it less daunting. And this thing here, it was huge for me to spend that amount of money on myself. It's interesting because I'm sure, at the time you had to pay up front. So it seemed like an awful lot. But whereas if you were in therapy or going on reading after reading after reading, it wouldn't have seemed so much. But actually, it would have been a heck of a lot more expensive and a heck of a lot more painful. So as she said, the whole thing was a big thing for her in actually doing that investment and changing this pattern. So she says that she'd been given a skill in reading tarot that she'd never thought about acquiring. So yeah, when Nicola came on, she didn't even have a tarot deck. She had never come across tarot. And it was the emotional, need for her that was the pull. And then she fell in love with tarot. And she had been given a stronger connection to spirit and a will for that to continue. She had the opportunity to meet and get to know some amazing people, which has made her want to go out and meet more. So it's really cleared those trust and isolation issues. She got a much deeper knowledge and understanding of herself and others, seen much in capitals, which she can pass on to her children. Tears, some sad, some happy, some angry, some proud, but all equally invaluable. It means I'm no longer numb to emotion. All in all, Tiffany does what she says she will. Absolutely. And I recommend her work to anyone who is truly looking to transform their lives. Absolutely. It's not just a tarot course. Don't come on it if you just want a course in tarot. Please. This is for you if you want to go really deep. I say truly because I can see clearly you get out of it what you put in. Yes? This is deep stuff. I'm not talking about a little dabble in tarot, all right? I'm talking about a bigger exploration into who you are, and this is the results that you get from that. So Monica says, working with Tiffany has been one of the toughest, yes, most wondrous transformations of her life. What is her life purpose? Why doesn't she feel connected? Self-doubt, negativity. What about love? She could have gone on. And now she knows. She's clear. She's got a visual understanding of listening to her body as well, the voices and the feelings. And she's on a journey to more self-discovery, and the results are imminent. The headaches and vertigo that she suffered for years stopped. Restrictions in her life and her relationships, especially with her family, significantly improved, which is probably why the headaches stopped. And she has a feeling of relaxation in herself and being in tune with herself at such a deep level. And for the first time in her life, she actually looked at what she really wanted. So she gave herself permission to do that. And she ended up owning her own business, which is a crystal store in the East End. And she never knew she wanted that, but she did. And she started that from scratch. They had a stall. Monica and her sister Pretty had a stall, and now they actually have a shop. So that is fantastic. And it was all activated on the journey. Fingal is saying here that he will never likely be someone that doesn't push a little too hard, but his awareness of this tendency has come to the fore. So again, health, when Fingal came, some of you might have seen his story, but he was having a real crisis of unexplained health issues, and he had to learn to listen to his body and his regulation, his divine rhythm, which is something the tarot is massively good at because it has its own divine rhythm, and when you try and control it or push it, it will give you a whack. So it really shows you how not to control, whereas readings you can get stuck in trying to control the external. It's like relaxing into the divine. And so for Fingal, he got stronger in that way, and in regards to his tarot abilities, which are amazing, by the way, and he's becoming more, well, they're all amazing, to be honest, and becoming more and more psychically sensitive, and this is really exciting. I'm going to go back to this they're all amazing thing. I mean it. Everybody has their own unique gift, and what I love seeing in the group is people growing into, I call them X-Men. They all have their own unique gift, and it's totally incredible to see it blossoming and coming out. It's incredible. So a lot of his self-doubt shifted, and he's easing into things more, and he's psychically sensitive, and that's really exciting because that keeps increasing. The difference between when he came on the course and when he finished, not only in his reading abilities but also in himself, are staggering, he says. He entered the course with the presumption that he knew more about the tarot than he did, but he sees this as a very positive thing, and it's been humbling, reflects his growth and progress, how much more there is to learn, but also that he feels truly ready to be reading for paid clients. And he has also been using tarot more and more as a great inspiration into the creative writing. There are some characters that he's merely lifted from the Rider-Waite deck. He is very creative, is our Fingal, and he's also been designing his own deck, embroidered, because he's also a fashion designer. And Fingal has split his career in two now. So he has two websites, one for fashion design and one called The Wellness Foundry, which is where he does his readings. So yes, he became truly activated in his purpose as well. Okay, so what could be your results? I mean, the reason I chose this cross-section is they represent the very broad range of results. Time and time again, my business mentors have told me I need to pin it down, Tiffany, and concentrate on one area of results, and I get why. But with this course, you can't. It's economical in that it's many in one. And I can tell you clearly, though, what happens for you if you put your whole self in. And that is 1, mental, emotional, and physical health. 2, great. Now, obviously, physical health, I have to be careful with what I say, but if you've got unexplained health issues, usually there's a holistic reason for that. Okay, so the mental and emotional health will have an impact. Number 2, great self-acceptance and confident, clear communication. Number 3, healed and healthy relationships. And number 4, activation of your purpose in a way that earns. All of these changes I'm talking about are long-term, you see. They're not things that just are a little shift for a little bit and then they go back. If you put your whole self in, that is. So as you can see, it's much more than just one course that deals with relationships, health, or business. And all of this arises from the moment you decide to take the call to action or adventure. So you have 3 choices at this point. Remember, I'm going to clarify for them. Number 1 is you go it alone, going around in circles of rejection, frustration, isolation, and confusion and failure by trying to apply this for a few days, probably. Number 2 is do the conventional therapy route or spend loads of money on readings and spend endless hours and pounds feeling exhausted, broken beyond repair, and traumatized and overwhelmed. Or you have this one. Try with me a very different way. One that, if you see it as it is, more than a tarot course, as I've said to you time and time again, hence the name, the transformational truth of tarot, and you go into it with a strong intention to change you or your relationships or your life. So what is it that you would be going into it for? That's what we need to get very clear on when I say about your intention. Okay? So, if you do the smart thing, then this is what you're in for in regards to results and speed. Remember, I'm a willful wand. So here's your transformational timeline. Within the first week, you'll understand how to think, live, and communicate to increase understanding, love, connection, and magic in your life. As you've probably seen within an hour how far we've come. Within the first month, if you've kept a journal and done the storytelling, you'll see things are changing already. If you are in a job or a relationship that isn't right for you, then you'll start to feel things changing internally for you or externally. Now, some people get afraid about this part, yeah? So I'm just going to say, remember Tim, before I move on, remember Tim back there. We spoke about his intention, which was just to be okay with himself in the face of people that were greatly misunderstanding him. His relationships didn't change, his job didn't change. He managed to become strong in himself. He managed to actually find the strength to be himself, which was his intention. And actually, the people around him have gone, hang on a minute, what I feared isn't really the case here. Is it really that bad? Seeming everything's getting better. So this is why I'm saying come back to the intention of what it is that you would like to achieve. Okay? You're not going to be out of control. It's about aligning to your intention. So by the end of the first month, you'll have more understanding and acceptance of yourself and others and your life than you ever had before. You'll have more trust in the bigger picture and the divine plan, divine timing that we've spoken about, particularly with Fingal, for instance. Knowing that the universe has your back, the confidence and strength to be yourself and communicate your truth lovingly to others also comes forth, as well as an ability to see the divine at work. Without a doubt, you will see this pretty much play out on a daily basis for you. It's incredible. You will, just like you're seeing people as court cards now, you'll start to see the tarot walking down the street. You'll see it, and it will come alive, and it will give you amazing synchronistic messages. It's powerful, and that's the archetypal divinity at work for you. You'll see an increased ability to see through situations straight to the heart of matter. You'll have strong insights and intuition and aha moments, and you'll wonder at the magic happening in your life. And that's just the first month. Whew. Within the first 3 months, you'll have more understanding of who you are and what you need to be and to do to activate your purpose. And you'll begin to believe that actually you really can. We've seen a few case studies here with people that really didn't feel like they could, and how bad their life had got because of it. So it's about reversing that. The relationship to yourself, others, and the universe will be significantly improving through increased understanding, inspiration, and acceptance. And this will be in alignment to your own truth. By the way, and you may be feeling that you cannot tolerate any situation that's not in alignment to that. So, yeah, but only if that's... Remember what I said, your intention. What do you want for this relationship? Staying aligned to it. If it's not aligned, then there's time to do something about it. And this is the first step to really creating a life that is transformationally true for you. You'll have increased confidence, value, and faith to see you through. And within 6 months, so at 6 months, you'll have done the personal journey. The personal journey is 20 weeks. And so you'll have a month of business support as well on top of that. And then you can continue on if you so wish. Okay. So 6 months is the time when you can just end, or you can go, no, I actually want to keep developing and now out there in the world, and I want Tiffany's help and support and the group help and support to do that. So this is the transformational time of going or moving up to the next level with support. So within 6 months, you'll know who you truly are. You'll find the confidence and courage to live it out authentically in your life. This is where you reclaim your life as yours, activate your purpose, and change your career or relationship if need be. Now, that can also change before the 6 months. I've seen it again and again. It's all to do with what you really are aligned to. And so 6 months is generally where everything in your life starts to mirror what the work of you've been doing is on yourself. So you start to land here. This is where the landing starts, and the growing and the blossoming really starts on the external level. So if this sounds like just what you need, and you have a desire to transform your life and relationships for the better, then let's talk. Over the next 3 days, I've set some time aside to talk to you and to see if I can help you. And when we do, we'll need roughly around an hour for me to listen. I can listen very well, actually, and map out the tailor-made focus you specifically need for success in your situation. And I'm not kidding when I say it's likely to be the most instant wake-up call you've had to date, even though I'm going to listen for about 90% of it. Okay. And this is a one-time offer. So I'm going to leave the offer up for the rest of the webinar, and then it's gone. So if you want it, you have to say yes to it. Remember the 4 people this is for: coaches, consultants, CEOs, lawyers, teachers, psychologists, and anyone that wishes to better themselves and others. So that is the business person, or anyone hungry to understand themselves and activate their purpose, knowing that's where the true gold is in life. And so that is the person that wants to activate their purpose, or those that want to enjoy true and better relationships, knowing that when they do the work the truth brings is that life will get better. So those of you that want better relationships, and scholars of the esoteric arts that wish to learn about transformation rather than divination. Okay? Here's the call. Here is the link to go to. Just click this link. It'll also be up as an offer, hopefully. I've managed to press the right button and it's come up for you in the webinar. There is only one of me and many of you, which means I cannot get to everyone. Therefore, apply now and make it clear why it is you that I should give my time to. And I don't want any of this, I shouldn't do this because I'd be taking it away from someone else. This is time for you. If you are resonating with everything I've said and you're ready to do the work and the commitment, then it's time to click this link. Okay? And as I said, as 3 days, there's many of you and only one of me. So do it now and make it very clear what your intention is, what it is that you want. Okay? It will stay up through Q&A time, and at the end I will also announce the winner. But you do need to have applied for this to be in for a chance of winning a retreat place with me in Cornwall or in Canada this year. Okay, so you do need to apply for this. You have to be of that mindset and of that intention to actually be gifted that place as well. So when you've put your application in, put in the chat box the email you've applied with. I will check that we've got it, and then you are in the draw, and I will just choose a name at random by the end of the webinar. Okay, so off you go. Here's the link. I'm putting it back up. Woo! Sorry if I'm giving you like up and downsies like a lift, but here's the link, and it should also be up as a button for you. Okay, so now I'm just going to pop over and see your comments and questions. See you in a mo.